Hello and welcome to the 1916 Company Podcast. I'm Tim Masso here with Armand Johnston, and we are discussing watches for the summer. The heat is on, and we've got watches in mind for summer fun. But before we launch into that in earnest, reach out to podcasts at the1916company.com with any questions, comments, or show topics you have in mind. Armand, summer watch, what does that mean to you? Obviously, there's some sports watch classes out there, but what is the picture you have in your head when you hear that phrase, summer watch?
Watch, you know, there's quite a few pictures that I have in my head. First and foremost, I am one to think it needs to be able to withstand, a summer beating. And by that, I mean, beach, boat, moisture, water, abrasiveness, hiking, outdoor activities.
Okay, so running around. I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to make one exception and just say, under certain circumstances, I can view the summer watch as something that is not super water resistant. More think like party watch more than aquatic watch, and you sort of get the idea. And for those of you watching the podcast on YouTube, you can see I've got this Roman Gauthier Moon Orbiter GMT, and this is sort of what I mean. This is the ultimate party watch. This is something nobody needs. It's 48 millimeters in diameter. It has telescoping shock absorbers under the lugs. This is a GMT. This is a flying tourbillon. Allegedly, it contains parts of both Moondust and Apollo 11. This, to me, is a summer watch. Like this is the kind of watch that has no practical purpose and makes no pretense of such. It comes from a silly brand with a silly form and a silly name.
I appreciate the allegedly in that paragraph very, very much.
Yeah, this is just a ridiculous watch. Would I wear it to a party? Yes. When I was a little kid in Levittown, we had block parties, which seemed amazing because you could walk around in the street. And as a little kid, your parents tell you not to do that. They'd block it off. They'd have music. They'd have food. Every single house was giving away free drinks and food and snacks and cookies. And then at the end of the night, back when you could still blow up a piece of the street with do-it-yourself fireworks in New York, we'd have all that going on too. So this is the kind of watch I imagine I would have worn back then had I been an adult at one of those Levittown block parties. So that for me is sort of like the idea of a summer watch. If you've ever heard the phrase weekend watch or the phrase party watch, stretch that over a full season and that's a summer watch for me.
I can almost see that like a feeling watch, a vibe watch, so to speak.
Yeah, like when Omega did the Summer Blue 2 years ago, and they had this lovely sort of gradient aqua fade on all of these Seamasters, I thought that looked great. I thought that captured sort of the spirit of the summer, and even though there was nothing specifically summer about that blue, it was vibrant. And I feel like summer is a colorful season. Flowers are in bloom, trees are flush, you go out to the beach, you've got the sand, you've got the surf, you've got the sky. And watches that sort of reflect that feeling to me are summer watches. Now, the obvious answer would be, okay, some kind of a dive watch. But did you have anything to add before we dive into dive watches? Because that's like the easy one.
That's the low-hanging fruit. No, I think of color very much. Honestly, just color and wearability.
So, yeah, in terms of summer watches, I think colorful watches come to mind. I think seasonally, it's one of the few times when I could envision rose gold or yellow gold being something I would actually consider on a watch that's not teeny tiny or vintage.
I wondered about gold when I was kind of putting my list together. Ultimately, I left most gold off, but I thought about the weight, the density, the feel in the summertime, and I almost feel like I mean, you could get a gold dive watch. That's kind of a classic look and feel, but I almost feel like gold is a non-summer material.
I'm going to go with something I normally wouldn't wear in gold for the summer. And this is a watch that I actually admire quite a bit, but I wouldn't get it in gold unless we're just wearing it out to the beach. So for Miami, and granted, not everyone goes to Florida for the summer. It's usually the opposite. But hey, I like it hot. So Vacheron Constantin Overseas Red Gold self-winding green dial, the 2024 model. For me, I would actually enjoy that on the full gold bracelet. I would take it to the beach. I jump in the pool. You see, I'm one of those guys who only goes in the water when it is just scalding hot. I hate the water. I hate swimming. The only time it's fun for me is when it is like 100 degrees. And kelp and bacteria notwithstanding, that's a great time to actually go in the water in Miami.
I am a water around the ear type of person. I've done polar bear plunges. I will jump in a body of water if it is available to me. So we got two ends of the spectrum.
All right, so that's working. And, hey, why not? I think it would be fun to try out one of those. Maybe this is a time to try out two-tone. Or, you know what? Cartier Calibre de Cartier Diver.
Oh, that's a good pick.
I could do that with a rose gold case and a blue bezel.
Yep.
And a blue rubber strap. By the way, guys, if you want one of the best dive watches that never really got the recognition, the Cartier Calibre de Cartier Diver, so thin, so fine, ball-bearing bezel. This probably the thinnest real ISO 6425 dive watch you will find. Their own movement, their own design. It felt very Cartier. It had an unconventionally loomed and massively loomed dial. Best bezel feel by far. If you like the feel of a refined, light touch bezel, think Rolex, think Grand Seiko. It's definitely in that vein. Now, I'm going to say that the steel is still the best buy, obviously. But because it's mostly a strap watch, I think rose gold with a blue strap and the blue dial and the blue bezel would both be as colorful as you'd want for summer, but also as vigorous as you'd want for summer, because it truly is a real dive watch.
Yeah, and that combo, the blue on the blue rubber is killer. It kind of tones down the gold a little bit, and it cools it down slightly, so to speak. The watch is very, very cool, and you said it. It's extremely Cartier, despite not being on the dressy side, despite taking itself a little less seriously, shall we say. It's very Cartier.
Now, there have been Cartier Pasha divers. Don't get me wrong. They're out there. They're out there. You've seen them. Yeah, exactly. The rotating bezel, the water resistance of 100 meters. But I just feel like that's good. But the Calibre de Cartier diver is the definitive Cartier diver. And it also feels to me like something Louis Cartier would have designed if he were alive today. Like it feels like something that's very much in the company tradition.
Yeah, I can absolutely feel that.
Another thing worth mentioning with Cartier, again, something I wouldn't ordinarily do, but a Santos large in gold on the bracelet. I think that's a great all-arounder. And, if you have like Nautilus tastes, but your budget is a fraction, I don't think that for the presence and the stance and the sheen of premium allure, I don't think it gives up much. I don't think Cartier feels like the kind of name that trades down. It may cost less, but I don't feel like you're slumming it in any way.
No, I completely agree. And it's one of those types of watches, on the bracelet specifically, actually, that, and this is a phrase that I come back to, you can see yourself sipping a martini, in the French Riviera.
Yeah.
With a watch like that on. It kind of speaks for itself. It kind of takes up, its own real estate on the wrist. And I think it punches much above its price class.
I'll also say this. You've got a lot of choice with that Cartier Santos large. You've got steel with DLC, blue accents. You've got straps. You've got bracelets. You've got a million different choices. Green dials, brown dials, blue dials, silver dials, loom, no loom, loomed hands but not dial, loomed hands and dial. They've given you a lot of choices.
Speaking of choices, I do want to point out on your previous mention of the green dial overseas.
Yes.
If the bracelet is not your bag, it does come with a green rubber and a green calf strap. So this watch is kind of prime for that summertime feel.
Yeah, that's true. That's another company that put a lot of money into its bracelets and straps. And the quick release system on the overseas, the current generation, makes it very easy to swap back and forth. A lot of people get themselves into trouble by traveling with multiple watches. Either they get caught in customs or they forget one or one gets stolen. It might be a whole lot easier to just swap out straps and rotate what's on the watch than to bring multiple watches, because the strap will be a very different aesthetic than the bracelet. And even the difference between the leather and the rubber strap is going to be different enough.
It's a huge difference. It quiets the watch down. It makes it more just easy to wear daily. And, you feel a little bit less like people are looking at you with a pound of gold on your wrist. Yeah,
so from Cartier, we're going to recommend the Calibre de Cartier Diver. Discontinued. You're going to have to go back and get that. But that's really what the Calibre de Cartier should have been from the beginning. It never, the 2009 model, yeah, I never felt it. The original was okay. The diver was fantastic. And then the Santos Large, highly recommended. Along in the vein of like a party watch, sort of like this Reimagining where, it's not necessarily designed as a tool. It's not a sports watch. It's not highly water resistant, but there's something silly about it, like a block party, like fireworks on the 4th of July, where, to quote The Simpsons, we celebrate our nation's history by blowing up a small part of it. Something like the Girard-Perregaux Constant Escapement LM, where you've got this wild watch with this crazy constant force system going like gangbusters on the dial. Now, F. P. Journe did constant force. It's kind of boring. It ticks. A fusee and chain is cool, but it's not very dynamic. If you want to see it move, you got to wind it. It's not going to unwind fast enough for you to actually see it move like bicycle gears. But the Constant Escapement LM, I know we've got a video of this somewhere online. Oh my goodness, this watch, the way it works and the way it looks. And yeah, it's got the size and the presence too. It is the kind of watch that you could describe not just as a party watch, but the life of the party. People who know nothing about watches will fall in love with watches because of this thing. First time I ever saw one was at Les Ambassadeurs in Geneva on Rue de Rhône back in 2017. And it was a wild visit with crazy things. That watch is the one that stands out in my mind. To see it is to love it. I don't think it can be any other way. And it is the ultimate party watch for sheer impact.
Looking at the constant force mechanism on its own, kind of, it gives you a better appreciation. It gives me a better appreciation for it. It's remarkable just to see the amount of pieces involved, just to see the, I don't know, kind of weird, organic, almost alien jellyfish shape of everything. It's very, very fun. It's very cool. And seeing this work, seeing this have life behind it, have motion behind it, is extremely cool. It is kind of a center of attention type of timepiece, no doubt.
Now, we need to talk about dive watches because everyone talks about dive watches in the summer, even if you don't dive. I've never once in my life gone diving, but I own a dive watch, and it's my oldest luxury piece. So, in terms of dive watches, I think there's a lot of options, probably too many options to cover today. So, I'm going to just start with something that I feel like a lot of people don't consider enough, which is the Karl F. Bucher Petravi Scuba Tech, where you've got this model that came out in 2013, and you're getting a lot. You're getting a watch that's a chronometer. You're getting a watch that's a diver. You're getting a watch with one of the best bracelets ever made. You're getting a watch with a helium escape valve. You're getting a watch with an extraordinary diving depth rating. You're getting a watch that you can pick up for basically Oris money used now from admittedly a brand that's not around anymore, but I don't think that's going to be a huge problem given that the hardware is very simple. Also, I suspect that parts and service will be available for quite a few years under the new owner. So this is just a great buy. I think this is a lot of watch. Get it on the bracelet. It is big. That's the only thing that counts against it. If you can wear a 44, I recommend this to you. But the combination of features to price and the quality of everything you hold in the hand, it feels tank-like.
It really does feel tank-like. It's. I would say it's a little unrefined for my taste personally. I would throw the. I think. I understand what you're saying about the bracelet. The bracelet would get to me after a while, I think. I think I'd have to wear this on a strap myself.
Yeah, I think this is the bracelet for guys who like bracelets. I would not prescribe it as a blanket recommendation. I would say if you want a bracelet sports watch, this is it. Because this also has another feature that you don't expect on something like that, which is that it's very thin. And you'll find that it's broad, but it's flat. And if you like to have a big watch that's got some weight, a lot of guys like to have a counterbalance to that, so it doesn't hula hoop on the wrist if you wear it loose. And this has that quality about it.
While we're on dive watches, I know this is a brand that I talk about occasionally, but Doxa Sub 300T. You have so many options in colors and bracelets in not in cases, but you have 5 different dial colors. You can get a bracelet, you can get a strap, you can get a NATO, and also one that doesn't break the bank. On a full bracelet, you can get the watch for sub $2,000, and it's a go anywhere, do anything, total beater tank. It's awesome.
Yeah, that is the hook there, that it is a classic watch with an enduring design, and it is a very affordable piece. Now, there's no magic in terms of how those affordable prices are reached. We all know about how manufacturing is a global endeavor these days at the budget price point. But the watch does have a very enduring look. The value is undeniable. What you feel when you hold it in the hand is very impressive with these Doxa subs. They feel more expensive than they are, and I mean that in the best possible way.
Very much so. And, this is something we've talked here and there. I have a small Seiko monster collection. I have about 5 monsters. And I love the watches, and I think they're great summer watches also. But that is also a watch that I feel like punches significantly above its weight class in terms of feel. I actually put it kind of in this realm. And, for a sub $400 watch, that's extremely impressive.
Yeah, without a doubt, I think it's a great choice. And value makes more sense, I think, in the tool watch position. Like in the tool watch segment, you're looking for something that, frankly, you want to wear with a bit of abandon.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to baby it. You don't have to worry about a scratch fundamentally changing your relationship with the watch. That's not going to happen with a Doxa sub. No normal person is going to have that change of heart because they scratched a sub. Now, I think that you can also find offbeat options, and the dive watch segment is so huge that you find entrants from so far afield that you might not even think of them if you just made a list of 20 top dive watches. Pécuinier is a French brand out of Morteau, and they have a diver called the Extreme 300. It's orange, it's black, it's on an orange rubber strap. It's a really cool watch. It's a diver with their own movement, 80-hour power reserve, automatic winding, made in France. It's a fascinating watch that's 43 millimeters in diameter, reasonably thin, uses the Calibre Royal, which they developed and built themselves. It's an unusual combination of a dive watch with a dial-side power reserve and a very asymmetrical dial. It also has an ambidextrous crown, so if all of this sounds quirky and characteristically French, you might find that this is a great way to get into French watchmaking for about €5,600, and I suppose that would probably be even a little bit less if you're an international buyer, because I don't think there would be a value-added tax. So a really cool piece for a French-made watch, 5-year warranty, good size, not too big, and properly spec'd with something that is estimable. You've got actually an 88-hour power reserve. The water resistance is 300 meters. You get the unidirectional bezel. And I think the world needs more orange watches. So an orange French manufacture movement dive watch, for me, that's the kind of left field thinking that feels both summery and fun.
What did you say about the crown?
It's sort of an ambidextrous crown. It's at about 230 on the case flank. So if you are that, not everyone has this problem. Some people do have a problem with the location of a crown at 3 o'clock. And it digs their wrist, and there are some people who object to that. And for that small group of people, having a crown off-center at 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock does help.
I would also say that that kind of, the crown guards are going to add to that measurement as well. So it's probably going to wear smaller than the 43. It's probably going to be closer to that of a 41 due to the extra couple millimeters on the asymmetry there.
I think the challenge here is that I have never actually had one for review, so I couldn't tell you what the lug-to-lug measurement is, and that's going to probably be the deciding factor. I will say it's kind of cool that they have their own crown design system. So the crown is a quarter turn. So it's a 300-meter diver, but the crown is a quarter turn. So I've seen things like this in the past, not really on a diver. I remember Hublot's Big Bang Unicos, the Ferraris, they had a roughly half-turn crown that would lock and give you 100 meters. 300 is unusual, and this is a very, very, very loomed watch. It is extremely well loomed on the dial side. And then it's got a vulcanized rubber bezel insert, which again is just kind of different. So for a watch that doesn't cost too much money, that you can wear with a bit of abandon, that comes from an unusual background, I think that's kind of neat, because, otherwise what are you going to do? Wait for Remy Cools to make you a tourbillon? They're all French watchmaking tends to be very high-end, at least these days.
Well, something that includes orange, and I would say is somewhere between Pécuinier and Remy Cools. One of my picks was the final edition Roman Gauthier C, the half skeletonized titanium with orange accents. And actually, a friend and client of mine recently purchased one of these and has fallen in love with it. Now, I'll preface this with, historically, the C is not my favorite Roman Gauthier.
I'm with you on that. Look, let's just get this out of the way, guys. The C and the Continuum before that, they were designed to hit a certain value price point that Gauthier had not previously probed, and also to hit volumes that Gauthier had not previously probed. I don't think it was forced on him. I don't think Chanel cracked the whip. I just think that they wanted to have something that could enter a big space in the market, and sports watches is that.
And I do think he did an interesting job with the design. There are some questions that I have about case and lugs, but the finishing is beautiful. The watch is very cool, and again, according to a friend of mine, it's awesome in the summertime. Now, he has it on the orange strap for the most part. He also had just a fantastic experience with the brand. They sent him a complimentary strap. He didn't buy it from the brand. They sent him a complimentary strap and assured him that any services that he needs will be complimentary.
Oh.
Which blew me away. I was floored to hear that in the best way. And, not to get too far away from our topic, but that's something you do not expect from a, quote unquote, independent watchmaker.
Yeah, that's sort of customer service. You sort of dream about it. It's what you envision in a best case scenario. Unfortunately, with the watch industry, the best case scenario tends to be pretty remote. So that sort of thing makes the experience for me. That's a little bit like Richard Mille, where I didn't really understand the appeal. And people would tell me about the events and the access and the community they built around the brand. And I'd be like, none of that's intrinsic to the watch, but I can see how that would make owning it more fun. And I could see how this from Gauthier would make the experience much more enjoyable, because that's also substantive. I mean, services and, after sales support, that costs money. That's putting their money where their mouth is. Yeah,
they stand by their product through and through. And, Roman Gauthier is not a brand that I initially looked at as having a summer watch, but the C Final Edition on that orange strap definitely is. It's kind of a, I wouldn't necessarily, go diving with it, but I think you're fine with some light swimming and some light activity. And it's one of those watches that, you go to, your outdoor dock bar and nobody else is going to be wearing it.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. And I would also say, look, we've been a little bit judgmental of the C, but if FP Journe had made this, I think we would probably say this is one of the best Journe sports watches ever made. We only damn it by faint praise because Gauthier's previous standard was so eye-watering. This is very, very good. So I don't want to put anyone down who has this. It's still an excellent watch. It's a watch that you wear because you want something a little bit more rugged than a logical one, but you still want Gauthier's stamp of approval.
Yeah. And it's also, at a great quote unquote, again, entry level price point for Roman Gauthier. I think it really lowers the bar in terms of not standard by any stretch of the phrase, but I think it lowers the bar in terms of difficulty in getting into a very small independent.
Yeah, and I'll say this, they went all out with the movement. The movement's made of titanium. It's very nicely executed. It is hacking seconds when so many others in the space do not for some reason. And it's got a really clever hacking system where when you deactivate the hacking lever rotates against the balance to give it a push and start it up. So it doesn't just unblock the balance wheel, it actually gives it a shove so that it starts out with a little bit of amplitude and it doesn't lose time in the first few minutes of operation getting up to speed. I thought that was a really cool piece of attention to detail. So good watch. I don't want anyone to think that I have anything against it. Okay, so another interesting summer watch, for me at least, would be the Sartori Biard SB07 Ghost. Now, this was a Grail watch collaboration with Waco. They made 15 pieces, but it is a mirror-polished, mirror-dialed, fully integrated bracelet sports watch. And the reason I'm not sort of rolling my eyes when I say integrated bracelet sports watch in 2025 is that the way they did this with every single surface, mirror-polished, bracelet, case, bezel, dial, everything. It's an unusual look, and it was a very original idea, done really well. I'm all about this thing, and it's 100 meters water resistant. This plays like, to me, this was an all-time great indie watch design. And look, the Grail watches are all pretty good, but this one's great.
This watch, I remember seeing this come out and thinking, what the hell is that? And you're right, it is awesome. It is so, so cool. And I think Sartori Bayard's website really showcases how the watch changes in its environment extremely well. I mean, you are never looking at the same watch twice when you look at this watch.
Yeah, and if you can imagine, more people are probably going to have a mental picture of the isotope Mercury, which was actually another collaboration. But that watch, if you can imagine the dial on the Mercury, the mirror polish, this whole watch is executed that way. And the dial is much more involved than the Mercury. It's multi-layered, includes sapphire discs. Armand makes the handset. Like, really incredible stuff. Again, this is French watchmaking. We don't talk about it too often, but a really cool, really neat loomed watch. The elevated sapphire disc that sits above the mirrored dial is the mounting point for the Luminova. So if you can get a loom shot of this watch, it is otherworldly. It's Area 51 type stuff. Just so cool. I really love it, and I'm a real fan.
Very, very cool pick. I like that a lot.
Now, what else have you got for me? Because Summer Watch, we're leaving this so open-ended.
Yeah, so I'm going to go in a slightly different direction. I'm going to pull from Grand Seiko's Seasons collection and not pick the summer season.
Okay.
I am actually going to pick the spring, the SBGA 413, which has a really, really cool light pink textured dial.
Oh, the cherry blossom.
Yeah, it just screams summertime to me. This is a summer watch, and I absolutely love the piece. I think it's wearable. It's 100 meters water resistant. It's spring drive. You get the smooth sweep second hand. You get the power reserve on dial side, very much like your Snowflake, for example. This just adds a little bit of color and a little bit different texture.
You know, that's a really cool idea. I like it because, to me, it's a super cheerful watch, and it captures that feeling that kids have at the beginning of summer when you get out of school and the whole thing is still ahead of you. And it's that freshness that you've got the whole summer ahead. And, you know, you get out in late spring. You get out like when the cherry blossoms are blooming, and that's the time when you feel it the most. That's the best feeling in the world. It's like when Alice Cooper wrote that song, School's Out. He wanted to create a song about the best feeling in the world, and that's what he settled on. And I get that feeling from the cherry blossom.
Totally. Well, very, very well said.
So another thing that you might find fun, profoundly silly, but a few years back, Etienne, which has become something of a rock star for fabricating indie brand watches for like small creators. They do most of the fabrication for stuff like Ming or Havid Nagan. They're the go-to if you want someone to make something really nicely for you with their own technology. But they do have a small run of their own watches. And so the Roswell, New Mexico inspired watch came out in 2018. And in 1947, of course, there was the whole like June to July UFO obsession that ran right at that point where spring turns into summer. And so from June 4th to July 10th, 1947, there were crazy newspaper headlines about flying saucers, alien ships, recovered bodies. And I mean, for me, that's sort of like, that's the sky's the limit feeling you get in the summer. Like anything's possible. And sky is the limit when you're talking about aliens that come down from space. So the 2018 Etienne Roswell 08, it's a combination of brown and green, which is not a combo we see too often. But it seems like it might actually be kind of similar to how like an alien looks, I guess.
Yeah.
That bright alien green. And it uses all of their original technology, and they make their own escapements, they make their own balance, they make their own hairsprings, and they did all of this themselves. The movements in-house. The case is lenticular. It's designed to look like a flying saucer.
I was just going to comment on that, actually.
It's another big watch, but it has very short, stubby lugs. I mean, think flying saucer, and you get the basic idea. 4-day power reserve, micro rotor, automatic, just so much fun.
Interesting Matrix inspired caseback.
Yeah, I never really understood like why they combined that with the Matrix. But the caseback, if you remember the digital rain motif from the Matrix, that's what the caseback looks like. And I
Digital rain. That's a great phrase.
yeah, the digital rain motif from the Matrix, where you have the sort of, binary ones and zeros rainfall and the trickle of lines, metamorphoses into an image. But that's what the case back of the watch looks like. There's a lot of different finishes. The finishing from Swarovski is excellent. And here it's truly exceptional. It's horlogerie. It is exactly what you would want to see. And it's also kind of a fun watch because it has a column wheel that is used to, I believe, index the date. And so mechanically, it also has some interest. Watch that I've always associated with just like wild hair on fire mythology. And remember, the Roswell craze in 1947 took place in the early summer. So that's why this watch is on the list.
I like this one. I like this one a lot, actually.
I mean, it's a very credible watch. It's a lot of fun. Like, if you're of the opinion that watches should be fun, this is for you. If you're of the opinion that watches should be serious, I'm not sure watches are for you, but this is not your watch.
I think, somewhere between diver and fun, I think to speak directly to the Omega that you referenced earlier and the collection of Aquaterra with the Aquaterra Shades collection. Okay. There's a lot of really good options in there as well. My personal favorite is the orange. I think that's extremely summery, but the pink is really summery as well. The red is a lot of fun. These pops of colors are really cool to me. They are admittedly outfit watches, but I feel like summertime is the time to have outfit watches. And also to maybe break out of what you would normally wear with said outfit watches and make them not so much.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely see that. Like, if you got a color in mind, some people have like a signature color, and they stick very, very closely to that color when they accessorize and dress themselves. And there are a lot of celebrities that have tied themselves to teal or pink or purple. I don't think you can think of Prince without imagining purple everything. If you identify with that, or you're the kind of person who identifies with a color, it really does help to sort of tailor your look with a watch in the summer. Because I feel like summer is the time to wear color generally. And, when the trees, like, think about that song, I think it was the Mamas and the Papas, California Dreamin'. And it's about how dreary a winter day is in the Northeast and how you're wishing you were in California. Well, I think most people live like that California mentality during the summer, regardless of where they are. But if you get that feeling from the song about what California meant to that person in New York on a dreary, cold winter day, accessorizing with a colored watch fits into that paradigm.
Ironically enough, the models on Omega's website that are featuring these Aquaterra shades are all wearing stark black.
You see, I don't know about that. To me, that does not make sense. I mean, you can punctuate a look. Black accessorizes with everything. But to me, it seems like they're just trying to be too hip.
Yeah. I wear a lot of black in this. I would like to see some outfits here.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have ever seen like my neon green color, I guess I have a color associated with me, but the Tim Masso green, like, to me, that's something that is going to be my glasses. It's going to be my watch. It's going to be, I mean, I've got green shirts that I wear under suit jackets. So I've got dark suit jackets and I wear those bright green shirts underneath them. And it's like Miami Vice, the most expensive possible jacket with the cheapest possible t-shirt. And that's the style. How about the Linde Werdelin Octopus Moonlight?
Oh, man. Getting cool. The
Linde Werdelin, they're kind of getting ready to relaunch. And one of the pieces that I know is going to be coming back in some form is going to be the Moonlight, where they had this incredible photorealistic moon phase developed with help from Sven Anderson. And on the Octopus model, which was considered to be like more their aquatic sports line. Not quite a dive watch, but their aquatic sports line. It's just a really cool use of lume where you can see the entire range of moon phases lit up with the current one centered up. And I just thought that was a great summer watch. It's got an octopus on the back. It's 300 meters water resistant in many cases, and it is going to be compatible with their, once upon a time, not anymore, but once upon a time, they were built to be compatible with their dive computer. So
very cool mechanism.
This idea that you dive and you go in the water in the summer, well, they decided, well, no one's really going to bet their life on a dive watch with a rotating bezel. So you had the ability to enjoy the watch for its aesthetic value on the surface and then stick their own custom designed dive computer onto it. It was called the Reef. And it would give you everything from a timer to a backlight to a diving alarm, data logging, all that stuff. And then when you got back to the surface, you could snap it right off. So you had this incredibly cool watch that was summery and fun and lighthearted, but it was also very tough. And then when you went in the water with the Reef, it became this full-featured dive computer, and the strap of the watch acted as the interface between your wrist and the computer. And it was just a very cool idea. But the moon phase was sort of the signature, and it's probably the part of the watch that you're going to enjoy the most, because how many of us really dive all the time? I just thought that was a really neat one.
You can pick up a Reef right now on a website for $500. That seems like a steal.
I was going to say, compared to what it originally cost, yeah. But I will also say that's not junk money. That's like a respectable amount of money for a dive timer.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah.
Definitely. But, I kind of view this as something different than a dive timer, despite the fact that it's an accessory for your timepiece.
It's got, first of all, it's Danish designed and, it's Danish made. It's not something that was, outsourced to SEA. So there should be a premium associated with it.
And there's also Linde Werdelin styling that I also believe should command a premium. The fact that it is compatible with a watch, there's a lot of R&D that went into this in general, so I'm totally cool with the premium. I think $500 is cheap for something like this.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on, and I can even read, some of the features. It's got a 55 millimeter transflective LCD color screen with sapphire crystal. It's got multiple timers, data logging, memory, maximum depth, current depth, decompression modes, backlights, multiple buttons that allow you to access all of the functions while you're underwater. It even came in different colors. No one is going to use a dive watch, a mechanical dive watch, as anything other than a backup timer today. Whereas with this can truly be your primary timer. It's got alarms. It's got audible signals built in. It's got multiple metrics on the same screen at once. It's configurable. This is a really cool thing. So I thought I'd throw that out there just because I like Linde Werdelin watches, and Jorn's always been a good friend. So I wish them the best. And to me, that is sort of like the ultimate summer watch, and I look forward to seeing it again.
What do you foresee with the re-release of the brand?
I think they're going to focus on being more exclusive. I think the last few years they've probably done something along the lines of 100 to 150 watches. There was a time when they were making 600 to 800 at their peak. They were never making thousands. So it's always been a pretty exclusive watch. I think what always got lost in the mix was that people would read the size at 46 and they'd assume it was gigantic, that it was like an Hublot King Power, and it never was.
They wear well. They really do.
I think when they come back, they're going to have more or less the same size case, but they're going to rate it based on how it actually wears, which is more like a 41 or a 42. I also think that there might be more focus on movements going forward. I think at the time it was always kind of difficult to, take Solida, ETA, or Concepto and say, this is going to be Royal Oak offshore pricing or close. So I hope they focus a little bit more on that to add value on the mechanical side. And I also think that, they're going to lean on their heritage of design, because Danish design was their original kind of claim to fame. And they're still going to have that, but I think they're going to look for more of a global design language, because they are an international brand. I think they're actually based, they're made in Switzerland. They started in Denmark, but I think they're actually based out of England. And I think the US is their main market. So between all of that, I think they might be a little bit more open to a design that's less rooted in one cultural tradition. And then finally, I think some of the best stuff they ever did was collaborations, like with Sven Andersen, with the moon phase, with the blue gold rotor, some of the cool stuff they did there. I think there's more room for that too. And I would love to see a return of the tattoo.
The tattoo is very cool. You know, this brand, I know it's been around since the early 2000s, but this brand to me always will remind me of kind of the peak of the 2012, 2014 Instagram watch phase. Linde Werdelin got a lot of play on, Watch On-ish, things like that, guys like that, on high, quote unquote, high end social media pages for watches, and it never took away from Linde Werdelin, just because, I don't know, the design is interesting. It is its own. It is specific. It's as recognizable as something like an Offshore, Royal Oak, if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I would say another thing that won them a lot of attention early on was that it seemed like their main marketing vehicle was comic books.
I do remember that. I actually just scrolled past a photo of a comic strip with a Linde Werdelin in it, and it's funny.
I mean, it was a very interesting idea, but the other thing is that they came on my live show when I think it was like 2016, back when we were like the Untouchables. We were a South Florida strip mall used watch dealer. And yeah, so after the Perfect 5 comic book, they actually came on my used watch show back when it was still Watch You Want. And I will always be grateful to Jorn for that. He came by again, over the winter in late 2024, and we caught up, and I showed him, look how far we've come. So that was a lot of fun, like sort of show where we've come, and now they have their relaunch coming. I'm excited about that. So I think just summery fun and kind of footloose watches, that's sort of what Linde Werdelin's always done. So
great pull,
yeah.
Great pull.
So where do we go from here? Summer watches. I mean, do we want to go like way up the tech tree and like say like what if you're going to buy like a cost no object summer watch? What's the summer watch for the guy who's already got the mega yacht?
I mean, it's not strictly a summer watch, but I did see in our vault the Grubel Force Balenciaga S2 in bright blue, which I think is a lot of fun. That's very summer yachty, despite not having all of the water resistance. And Grubel and yachting kind of feel right to me.
It does feel like a mega yacht type watch. Although to be perfectly honest, I think Ulysse Nardin already has a mega yacht themed watch. I think they actually have a mega yacht watch.
Very, very fair. Very fair. Gosh, what I'm blanking on the name of it. What is the watch with all the strings and the?
That's the Marine Grand Deck Tourbillon from Ulysse Nardin. Yeah, that came out in 2016.
That watch is awesome.
That's a great piece.
That's a great watch. And that, all right. Hot take, that on a rubber strap, that's an awesome summer watch.
I'm all about that. And I can't say enough good things about that watch because I was there to see it. And you've got this crazy watch that literally has a wood marquetry dial like the teak deck of a yacht. You have capstans like you would have to run the lines, like the running rigging or maybe the anchor chain of a really big ship. And then you've got this retrograding minute hand that acts as a boom. And so it's almost like you've got the running rigging controlling the boom, holding the sail, but it's actually a retrograde hand for the minute. And what's cool is that the retrograde action is damped so that it slowly retrogrades like a boom drawing across the boat as you tack. And so it's a slow, smooth retrograde as the capstans spin. It is so cool.
The animation is remarkable. It is so cool to see. It's over a sapphire minute track that is just so cool. The colors are light. The marquetry is amazing. I mean, it's gorgeous. It is a micro ship's deck, and it looks as if you're looking straight down onto a deck from a higher position. It's such a cool watch.
Yeah, also 100 meters water resistant. So this is a watch that you can actually take swimming. Like some people say, oh, I wouldn't take such an expensive watch. We know guys with watches like that who swim with them all the time.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Even things they shouldn't be swimming with, like RM11s.
Danny Goffberg famously jumps into his pool with his aluminum centograph often.
Yeah, 30-meter water resistance, and it's still live. But, I think it was like $280,000 when the Grand Deck Tourbillon came out. And to be perfectly honest, maybe it was 280,000.
I just saw 327 on the
Is
site,
that
actually.
It's a little bit hard to say, but that sounds more like it. Like I think it was 280,000 francs when it came out. But what a watch! And I will always remember that as the highlight of my trip to Baselworld in 2016. I saw a lot, but I really, really loved the Grand Deck Tourbillon, and I believe it was a quietly co-developed product with Christophe Claret.
It has such a Claret feel to it. It really, really does. The type of complication, the way the complication is executed, that tracks.
So yeah, and let's see what actually. I don't think the Mega Yacht is highly water resistant, unfortunately. I'm going to try to check this out real quick. The Mega Yacht's also part of the Marine Collection. Yeah, it's 50 meters. I would say it's tentative with the 50-meter Mega Yacht to go in the water. But if you want an explicitly yacht-themed watch with a propeller flying tourbillon and the gigantic prow of some imperious tycoon's personal floating city about to run you down in your dinghy, that is definitely the aesthetic. Also, it has a title chart, yeah,
wow.
and an anchor chain based power reserve indicator.
I love watches with a title calculator on it. It's so rare, and it's just so cool, and it's a scale that isn't really often thought of. I was going to give flack to this watch for only being 50-meter water resistant, but the title calculator makes up for it in my book.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing where, you're going to be high and dry on your Mega Yacht anyway, and at worst, it's going to go in the pool or the hot tub on board, of which you have several. And, it's the kind of thing where you might have a couple of these. So if one gets wet and there's a problem, you just put on the next one.
This is slightly off topic. You'll have to forgive me. I was recently reading about how the tides work, or like a fundamental mechanics of the tides, and it's effectively bulges of water on either side of the world, and the world spins within it.
Oh yeah,
and that blew me away. Again, I've spent a lot of time around the water, boats, things like that. I've never heard it explained to me in such a way. And actually, looking at this watch, it kind of reminded me of that, because the title calculator has a very interesting, almost elliptical shape to it. And that just reminded me of that little fact.
Yeah, like you think that the Earth stays still and then the tides sort of slough around the globe. But actually, the Earth is more like the tumbler inside a Magic 8-Ball. The fluid doesn't move, the tumbler does.
And it made so much sense with the moon's effect on the tides. Just so much just clicked for me in that. It's such a cool little mechanic of nature.
So I'm going to throw this out for you guys because I mentioned my Omega Seamaster at the beginning of this stream, and I still believe that the standard Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter is a great watch. I think that the solidity of it, the materials quality, the technical sophistication, the value you get, the capability. So if you want to go out and you want to just buy this in steel on a full bracelet, 42 millimeters, 300 meter depth. It's got the helium escape valve, unidirectional bezel, ceramic bezel insert. It's got two clasp extensions. One's a pull-out, one's an incremental slider. It's coaxial, it's chronometer, it's anti-magnetic, it's shock resistant. And it's a watch that, all up on the steel, full bracelet, it's going to be about $5,200. Or 62, pardon me, which is still a great deal. And we were talking about summer blue. For $400 more, you can get the summer blue dial if you really want it. But for $6,200, I cannot think of a better dive watch. I could say that maybe Ulysse with its Aquis 41.5 caliber 400, but while that has a lot to recommend it does not feel as solid as the Omega in the hand.
And Omega is going to have a higher degree of, or a slightly better mechanical finishing, I would argue. I think, the coaxial escapement is something interesting to talk about. I think Omega's new series of movements are fantastic. They're, beautiful to look at. And this is just a grab and go, no nonsense, do anything watch. And I mean, this should be on everybody's list to own at some point. You don't have to own it forever, but it's one to own at some point.
Without a doubt. My first watch was the predecessor of this. It was the late 90s, early 2000s version, which everyone knows and loves. But the nice thing about this model, too, is that it was the first Seamaster, really, that had staying power. the first Seamaster diver came out in 1957, but almost from the beginning, they started rebooting the design every couple of years. It never had the evergreen quality of the Rolex Submariner, which would just evolve with time. But the Omega in 1993, with that reissue of the Seamaster now as the Diver 300 meter, after the 200 meter years, the 80s, it came back, and maybe it was James Bond and the sponsorship of that movie series. Maybe it was just that they finally struck gold and found the right shape and style. But that 1993 Diver 300 meter is still the design that's with us today. And if there is a core Seamaster in the sprawling Seamaster collection at Omega, it's this thing. It's been around, it will be around, it will never be made obsolete by subsequent designs. I think this is going to be in the catalog for another 30 years.
I could not agree more. And quite honestly, it should be. You know, this is the Omega diver, and I think for a long time they were trying to make Planet Ocean the flagship diver, and it for similar reasons. You know, every 2, 3, 4 years it would get some sort of update. For some reason, they never allowed it to have solid footing, and I really feel the solid footing in the current collection of the Diver 300.
And you've got so many choices. If you go on to Chrono 24 and you just take a look at the number of them out here that are in steel with a full bracelet, you're going to find that you can get thousands off this watch still under warranty. I mean, it is not hard to find examples that are, you know, in the $4,000 to $5,000 range, in great shape, full box and paper, and you're going to get a tremendous watch that'll go the distance. This is a lifetime purchase. If you want, it can be a one-time purchase if you're that one and only watch guy. Because unlike a lot of these summer fun watches we've discussed, this one is perfectly in its element come the fall, the holidays, the dismal days of January and February when you need something to make you smile. This will do that. So this is really a man for all seasons, this Diver 300 meter.
No, that's a perfect pick. I mean, it kind of exemplifies the summer watch.
By the way, one more thought for the billionaire who has it all and also, frankly, a great deal of access. If you're looking for a summer fun watch, I would love to see some real-world FP Journe chronometre furtif.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see that in the metal, in the tungsten. I need to see the watch.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the coolest watches I've ever had in my review booth when the time comes, when this crosses my desk. But if you've ever wondered what would happen if FP Journe made a chronometre bleu, the chronometre black, added a little bit of a sporting attitude and went with a full bracelet and made it all from an indestructible material, that's kind of what the chronometre furtif is. Really, really cool. I cannot wait to see this, and I never say that about Journes.
Can only imagine the frustration that it took to R&D that.
Oh my gosh, we were talking about the cost of the Cartier bracelet. I still think the Cartier bracelet costs more, but I think this is probably more of a pain in the butt to make.
Yeah. This is a manufacturing nightmare, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that watch, to be continued. Armand, do you have anything else?
I wanted to do an honorable mention of the... I was going to do the new Tudor Black Bay in light blue, but I wanted to talk about the Flamingo Black Bay Chrono. I think that's a great summer watch.
I like that too. You know what? It feels very Miami, but so did the pink.
Yep.
And I guess nothing says summer more than fun on the beach.
That's right.
Okay, guys, so this is our 1916 Company podcast. But if you guys have ideas for show concepts, really let us know, because recently we get a lot of standalone question type things, but what we really want is for you to give us a show topic that's organically thrown from the field, because honestly, you probably have your ears a little bit closer to the online watch scene than we do, since we're often caught up in the business of watches. I want to know what's going on the forums, what's going on at the red bars, what's going on in social media. What are you guys asking? Give us some show topics. Send them to podcasts at the 1916company.com. And until next time, time out.